How's it going, everybody? Had another thing on my mind I wanted to put my 2 cents out there about. Today I wanted to talk about the next generation video game consoles. And how I honestly think we're at the last generation of video game consoles that we're ever going to see. We're starting right now with the Wii U, the PlayStation 4, and the next gen Xbox, which I'm assuming they're going to call the 720, is supposed to be the 8th generation of video game consoles. The PS3, the Wii, and the 360 is the 7th generation, and we're starting the 8th right now. I really don't think there's going to be a 9th generation. My main reason? User backlash against a lot of this stuff that they're adding. I mean, at this point in time, look at games on like the 360, the PS3, the Wii not so much so. Now compare that to what you're seeing on the Wii U now compared to the Wii, the PS4 compared to the PS3, and whatever Microsoft decides to show us with the 360 and the 720. I really don't see that big of a change as far as graphics goes. I honestly think we've gotten to a point where graphics just aren't going to get any better. And if they do, it's like some minor detail that you really don't even pay attention to. What was I thinking of? It'll come to me. My biggest concern is just all these bonus features that they claim that they're adding to entice us, when truth be told, I myself, and I'm sure there's a lot of other people out there, are going to be pretty skeptical about this. It's good tea. Alright, now I'll be the first to admit I really don't know too much about the Wii U. It looks like it's an okay system. I don't think it's too much of a step technologically above the Wii. Probably because I'm not a big fan of like that whole controller that's practically an iPad. I don't think it's necessary. Supposedly it's a touchscreen. But even then, do you really need it? So now I'm going to move over to the PS4, which had its release press conference a couple weeks ago. Yeah, it looks nice. It looks like it's going to be a good system. My problem is, well, a number of things. One, they're doing this feature where it's going to have like some sort of, it can track what you've played or keep a record of what you played, and then based on what you've played in the past, it'll download certain games for you in the background. Yeah, it sounds like a nice feature, but I just keep going back to, well, what happens if I don't like the game that they're giving me? Or other people just think the game sucks, or I don't even want the game. What do I do then? Am I stuck with it? Do I really have to buy it? Can I delete it? It does sound really far out there to say that Sony would force you to pay full retail price for something that you don't want, or it turns out it's a bad game. And if it's a download, well then you're stuck with it. You can't return it. That may be Sony's answer to the problem that I've been hearing about used games as of late. As many of you have probably heard, there's a lot of rumors going around that the Xbox 720 is not going to support used games. Which has a lot of people up in arms. Oh, well now they're going to force us to buy new games at higher prices. We're not going to be able to return it because if the system's not going to take used games, then obviously GameStop's not going to take the used games because they can't resell them, and now we're stuck with them. What do we do then? I think it's a valid point. I think it would be crazy to shut out used games like this. To be fair, the PS4 has admitted that it's going to allow used games to be played on the system, so okay, I'll give it that. But still, with a lot of these download services that are coming out now, I mean, a lot of people, myself included, have long predicted that physical discs themselves are gonna fall by the wayside soon enough and downloads are gonna take control, that does mean that game quality has to really step up, because if a game sucks and you paid full price for it, what do then? You can't return it and get some of your money back. Oh, excuse me. Really good tea. I actually read an article right now, and I'm going to put a link in the description of this video, where some expert on the game industry claims that if they do in fact shut out used games, it's actually going to put Microsoft in an advantageous position. His argument was something about, okay, if the Xbox 720 doesn't allow used games to be played, then that means that Microsoft can cut out the middleman, i.e. GameStop, mostly. You know, you probably get some sales off of Amazon, Toys R Us, Walmart, but mostly it would affect GameStop. Because let's face it, where do most people go to get games? Yes, sometimes you might go to Toys R Us, sometimes you might go to Walmart, but more often than not, they're the ones you go to. They're going to take a hit in business because obviously they're not going to be able to sell used 720 games. And sooner or later, it's going to get to a point where Microsoft is going to discontinue service for the 360, which means they're going to have to get rid of their supply of 360 games. Heck, they've done it for just about every other console. They did it for the Xbox, they did it for the GameCube. Caught me by surprise just a couple months ago when they did it for the PS2. But I guess it was going to happen eventually. But anyway, this expert claims that, okay, if Microsoft does that now, they don't have to take as many losses because every console they sell, they'll be able to sell for more of a profit. Every game they sell is going to be sold at full retail price, which is more of a profit for both them and for the publishers, which means they'll be able to make more money on everything they sell. He said something about, okay, even if Microsoft sells 5 million consoles and Sony sells 20 million, because the Xbox 720 doesn't support used games, it means it's going to come out more ahead in terms of profit. I'm not so sure about that. Think about it. Microsoft wants to put out as many Xboxes as they can. They want to have the Xbox not just as a video game console, but as like your home entertainment center. This is where you go if you want to play a game, watch a movie. I must say I'm a big fan of Netflix. I love Zune. Now it's Xbox Live Video. Heck, I've got YouTube on Xbox Live. Watching stuff on the big screen is great. Subscribe, comment on this video. Cheap Floyd right there, people. So obviously, to me, it makes sense that you want to put out as many consoles as you can. Even if you've got to take a loss on some of them, eventually you're going to recover those losses through software sales, and eventually you'll see a profit. Every other console, at least the major ones at least, they've done that. They've sold at a bit of a lower price so they could sell more consoles, get more of them out there, and eventually you're going to be turning a profit. A loss in the beginning, to me, it's a small price to pay to get more of a market share. Something else I don't like is, obviously, the PS4 controller. I don't like the fact that there's a touchscreen there now. I just kind of feel like it's unnecessary, at least on a home console. On a portable console like the DS, I used to own a DS, it was decent. Granted, the only DS games I ever owned were Castlevania Dawn of Sorrow, Castlevania Portrait of Ruin, and Castlevania Order of Ecclesia. Those are the only games I ever owned for that. And the only ones that even used the touchscreen was Dawn of Sorrow, because you had to draw a seal on the screen in order to finish off a boss. You didn't really need the touchscreen for the other two. It was just like, okay, set waypoints on the map so you know where you're going. That was really about it. Excuse me. Finally, I heard something about how Sony is going to do this thing where you can live stream videos to Facebook. Big whoop. Who watches videos on Facebook? Everybody posts videos on YouTube. If anybody I know, if they post a video on Facebook, it's only going to be like a 30-second, maybe a 1-minute clip. That's about it. A video like the one you're watching right now, this is going to be on YouTube. I have no earthly business putting it on Facebook. And it's the same with anything else. It also goes for like live streaming, for people doing commentary, people that do game reviews. Case in point, guys like Angry Video Game Nerd, Dark Side Phil, just to name a few there. So yeah, it's going to be interesting, but I just have my doubts. We're starting the 8th generation, and I really don't think we're going to see a 9th. And then it gets me wondering, what's going to happen to these 7th generation consoles? There's still a lot of features that are useful. I know it's probably going to happen years from now that the 7th generation consoles support is going to be discontinued. I just don't think it's the right choice of action. For example, what if somebody doesn't buy an 8th generation console? Let's say you're happy with your PS3, or you're happy with your 360, or you're happy with your Wii, and you decide, you know what, I don't want to upgrade. What's going to happen to that stuff you have? Is it lost? Are they really going to make you pay for it a second time? That's something I don't know if they're worried about. I think that a lot of these developers, the console manufacturers, they want to turn a profit. I understand that. They're in business. They need to make money. But I just think that they're going about it somewhat the wrong way. And they should focus more on just giving us good games and a good system to play them on. We have those now. Do we really need more? Alright, I think I've said my piece for this one. Enjoy the video, subscribe and comment, and I'll talk to you next time.